the four kind of pillars of marketing that we work with and work on with business owners, if they don't have these four things, in our opinion, they're not set up for success. Number one is...
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Awesome Inc.'s podcast, where we highlight people pursuing their definition of, you guessed it, awesome. So buckle up and get ready for some more success story adventures and failures from Kentucky's tech and entrepreneur community. We're back for the final chapter of this epic saga. Well, is the saga only 3 or could it be more than 3?
I don't know.
I only know it from Star Wars. So
there's more than 3 Star Wars.
There are.
I guess this saga is more than 3.
Yeah, well, okay. Way to call me out. Anyways, with my friend Chase, great storyteller, as you can tell. And we're wrapping this up. We've been talking about marketing. A couple big hits from the last couple of episodes. If you haven't listened to them, how dare you? But we'll keep going. So we talked a lot about clear communication and really how to talk well with people you're doing business with. Marketing doesn't just mean social media. Now we're going to wrap up after talking about creativity, business communication, business marketing, and then now we're going to go back to how to keep things simple. So the difference is we're going to talk mostly about your culture. How do you stay true to what you know? So with that, I don't think you can hear this enough. Chase, just to warm up your vocal cords, tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. Why is clear communication more valuable than fancy fluff and trying to sound impressive?
I think it just works better. I think people can understand, I think that if you had marketing and branding get 3 words that get confused the most: marketing, branding, and advertising. They're all related. They're all parts of what we're doing when we're growing businesses. Marketing is memorization, right? Branding is emotional. Something you're fusing emotions to something, position. And then I think advertising is money. Advertising is spends. It's analytics. It's media buys. It's making money for you. It's an investment. So a lot of times people get those confused. But I think when it comes to marketing, most businesses need to prioritize their marketing, not branding or advertising quite yet. Because if your marketing message is bad, people don't. Your own company, your own employees don't know how to communicate what you do. What do you do for work? Well, we work in human resources. We really help file tickets for, whatever, nobody knows what that means. So if your employees don't know what it means, you're
I don't think you know what that means.
I don't know. I was just trying to make up a fictional company.
Yeah.
But, I think if you're not clear with your message internally and externally, people aren't going to know what to do with you. So that's the big priority with clarity is your marketing, and your marketing is going to be solid and clear, which means your advertising is going to work better. So when you spend money to send people to your site, they're going to understand who you are, what's in it for them, and how they can do business with you. But if you don't have that set up, then you're going to send them to your website and you're probably never going to get them again. They're going to forget about you and not use you.
I'm going to jump in and cut you off just so I don't want to lose this thought. So you talk about, why do I say you talk about? As we're talking together, sorry, that was so...
It's just me. You're not even here.
Like preaching to thousands of people. So when you're saying you could potentially lose someone's business because your messaging sucks, let's just call it a spade. How do you recenter your communication with your marketing team or as a marketer yourself? What do you do to say, this isn't part of our culture, this isn't our vision, we got carried away? What do we do to come back?
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, recenter a little. I mean, I think that's a great question, and it's just kind of a perpetual deal, right? Is it this?
It's squishing your eye.
My headphone is squishing my face.
Anyways, keep going. This is great. I was laughing. Sorry to cut you off.
I think it's a perpetual thing that you're always going to be adjusting and managing. I was with a friend this morning, and I was explaining that, in my opinion, that I've seen there's 3 different phases of a company. There's the investment phase where you're investing in product design and in early hires and the idea, and you're testing things. You're building out. What are you laughing at? Is it the hat? Is it the...
No, I just get giggly. I totally cut you off. Okay.
Okay. Snip, snap. So
3 phases of a business.
yeah, so there's like, in my opinion, there's like 3 phases of a business. I think the investment phase is, when you're investing in your product, you're building your MVP out, you're hiring, early staff early staffers. You're getting sales and marketing set up. You're building your brand, your website, your message, all that stuff, and really starting to grow and test it's a really great period. The second, which leads to the second phase, which I think is growth. It's scaling. It's training. It's becoming a real boy. If you're like Pinocchio, like
Want to be a real boy,
right? You go from startup to small biz to moving into, hitting goals, and you're like, okay, we're actually growing. Things are happening now. And that goes on for a long time. That second phase happens a long time. And I think the third part is maintenance. So, and then I think you end up doing that again. Like a lot of times companies innovating, they look for new verticals, they look for new opportunities to innovate, and then they do it again. They're back in investment phase, then they're back to growth, then they're back to maintenance, and they keep doing that. And so you're never really done with something, in my opinion. So
we're talking about recentering yourself in terms of communication.
Yeah.
So it's keeping the messaging clear.
Yeah. So you keep it center, but you let it change with you as your company changes, and so I think, having a message that you can all get on board with, like with your, that everybody can understand and grasp and your customers can grasp, just get clear. It's never too late to make things clearer. If you're definitely, most businesses I think are in the investment and growth phase and they're starting up, especially if they're sub 5 million in revenue, they're still testing, they're still trying things out. They're still looking for new ways to do things. So you're at a coffee shop and you work on your messaging. If you have some pull there, like if you are allowed to work on the messaging, go up to somebody and say, hey, does this make sense? What does this mean to you? What this? Oh yeah, I don't know what it means. Then go back to the drawing board. Oh yeah, you guys are a financial advising firm for small business owners. Great, perfect.
You got it. Yeah.
Then memorize it and have your staff memorize it and put it everywhere.
Yeah, on the toilet paper and the napkins.
Yeah.
And, actually, that would be
get it tatted.
Get it tatted. Look at my sick tat. What's the messaging with Bolt? What do you guys keep simple? And then also you talked about adaptations, or maybe your messaging will fluctuate depending on your company, what stage where you are. What's the messaging of Bolt?
Right. So what we say is, a lot of small business owners struggle to market their business or talk about what they do. We help them grow their business by transforming their marketing. And so that's really kind of our one-liner. We test it, we change it all the time. But sometimes we say marketing fundamentals for entrepreneurs. There's just we just kind of play around with it. But the reality is we know we help small business owners grow their business by transforming their marketing. That is the big deal. And I'm confident, I hope that if you ask anybody who works with us, they would know that's what we do and what we're all about. Because we want to keep the entrepreneur and the small business owner front and center. That's who we're there to help with. We know what it's like and we want to help them grow their biz.
So keeping people front and center, we often have a few different vehicles that we use these days. And we've touched upon, and I think you'll probably hit home right here, that marketing doesn't mean social media. They're not synonymous words you can swap in and out. However, that is a main avenue to tell a story, to help people share your messaging. So how do you feel about all the different vehicles we use these days? So we've mentioned TikTok a few times. What do you actually think about Clubhouse? Literally, the floor is yours. I just want to hear what your thoughts are.
I mean, I think if it's where is your target audience hanging out? Are they on Clubhouse? Is that where most of your people are at? Then maybe you should consider figuring out how that works and get on there and start playing around with it. And this all depends on the size of your company. Some small companies, if they're solopreneurs, or if they're big, if they're big companies, they're not as nimble. They can't do this they have to have something premeditated. There's a lot of people that it has to go through before it gets approved, all that. But if you have some flexibility, play around, hop on Clubhouse, make a couple posts on LinkedIn, see what happens. Start engaging with people, start testing it. And then if you see a good return on that investment, go all in on it. Some people still have success with the yellow pages. I've never met them, but I hear about them. It's like Bigfoot. you know. But I think that you want to have a plan in place, and I think so for us the four kind of pillars of marketing that we work with and work on with business owners. If they don't have these four things, in our opinion, they're not set up for success. Number one is a clear message. Number two is a solid brand. Number three is a great website that converts. And number four is a marketing plan. Understanding who you're talking to, what are your services or products, where are you talking about it at, and how are you measuring it? So those are the four products that we offer. We offer some different services sometimes, but most of the time when we're starting with somebody from scratch, they're doing one or all of those products. And then we get into a conversation maybe about, hey, we like working with you. You like working with us. We have a good understanding of how your brand works. What if we continue working together on a longer term basis?
With the four pillars that you just mentioned, Chase, where do you feel companies, probably more entrepreneurs and small businesses that you work with from Kentucky, where are they failing in those and keeping their marketing, their messaging?
I would say the two things that I would prioritize there, if you could only prioritize two, and number one would be messaging. Your messaging's off, the rest of it doesn't. I mean, you'll get stuff, I mean, that's the thing is like, this isn't like, law. Like what I'm saying isn't like the law. I'm just saying from what I've seen is if you have an unclear message, you're going to have lower conversions. Your ROI is going to be less than somebody who's got a clear message and maybe a lower ad budget. They're going to see more bang for their buck because it's clear. Granted, all this doesn't exist. If your product sucks,
your product sucks.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
If you're not solving a problem,
you could spend $1 million on advertising. You could get LeBron James to sponsor it. You eventually it will fail because it is not a good product, and nobody, like, that's just not the way we work. The product has to solve a problem in a real way. But after that, then these things really start to play in. So number one, if your messaging's not on, I think that you need to fix that. And then number two, if your website's not set up to convert, that's the next thing. I think branding is incredibly important, and a website's a big piece of that. But a lot of businesses understand how important branding is. They understand design. It's something that we can all make. We all get first impressions from brands, and we can take a look at something and we can see that looks really cool, or that looks like an airbrush tee from Gatlinburg. Like those, like we can make the snap judgment. We associate and we make snap judgments, and it's really hard to change our minds once we make that first impression, right? So that's the good news. Is I think there's a lot of people who need branding help. Yeah, for sure. But I think most people know the importance there, so they'd invest in that. But then on their website, they use vague messaging. They don't call to action. They use passive language. Like, you've heard me say this all the time. Like, get started is very passive. Contact us is pretty passive. You want to use active language. And then on their website, they talk about them the whole time, themselves, their company, our why. Simon Sinek, I don't know if he knew what he was doing when he talked about that why book. It's a great book. It's a great concept. But I think most people they all just want to talk about, this is our why. That's not the question people are concerned with. They're not asking, what's your why? What's my why? Why should I care about your company? Not why are you in business?
Yeah, well, it's almost, there are two steps. First is, why should I care what you do? Great, like when everyone's answering that why, here's what we do. But really, part two, which is the follow-up, like, why should I be using your, like, why should I,
right,
pay for whatever?
Yeah, I think the why, it's a great book. I've read it. I think it's great, but I hear that book brought up all the time. And when it gets brought up, I know that somebody's about to say, yeah, I want to talk about me. I want to talk about our business on whatever we're about to do. And then I have to talk to them about why it's not a great idea to do that.
Then you're putting your foot in your mouth with your messaging.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, there's anomalies to all this, right, Garrett? Like,
yes,
people have success that should not. Statistically, they should not have success because they violate all the rules. But for whatever reason, it works.
Here we are.
But for the most part, we worked with a lot of businesses and implemented a lot of these practices in there, and we've seen incredible returns by changing small things. Like we've seen, we worked with a dealership that had pretty good sales. Like for a dealership, it was doing really good revenue. They had a website, it was okay, but it wasn't really set up to convert. So we helped them clarify their message. We built a new website that was more set to talk about the customer and guide them through an experience. And their website traffic did not change at all, but their conversion rate increased like 120%, and they doubled the revenue. That was the only variable that changed. Whether some market some market variables that might have changed, sure, that we can't control. But all we know, we saw the data was traffic stayed the same, conversion rate through the roof. So I think when you have a really great message and a really great site, those are really important. All four, super important. But if I only had to pick two, it'd be message and website.
So as we're wrapping up this last portion, I call it keep it simple, but really we're talking about know your messaging. Companies, and this, I feel like this is counterintuitive to what we just talked about with Simon Sinek's Start With Why book. Companies or organizations, startups, whatever, usually have some sort of culture and they want to be dominant. They want their company to be known for that. Great. So in a sales, probably predominant culture, does the marketing play second fiddle with how they message, again, like who we are, what we do, how we can help you? And then maybe a follow-up with that, if you have a good story or two, what are some good practices to keep that company culture front-facing in your messaging without being in your face?
Sure. We could talk through this one, I think. I think I'm getting what you're saying.
Yeah, I can see your brain's just brewing up a really good answer. So keep it going.
I hope I don't underwhelm. Especially this is the last question for the entire series. No, I'm just kidding.
This is only part A of the series of 26
of 20.
episodes.
This is, we're going to start our own podcast. We're going to have a spinoff. We're going to have an equivalent of Fraser Crane, Fraser and Cheers spinoff.
I was thinking of like Fairchild and Farbach Financial, whatever.
I love it.
I'm kidding.
You probably don't want me dealing with your finances.
Nope, I don't.
Yeah, probably don't want me. Yeah, I mean, I think sales and marketing, like I said in one of the other episodes, is I do think they should be complementary. You got to understand like that. I actually probably would identify more as a sales guy than I would a marketer in a lot of ways, because I like sales and I love relationships, and I think that they're siblings. Sales and marketing really are very closely related. And so I think, when it comes to transferring, and let me ask, you were asking about how do you transfer your culture to the public? So like Awesome Inc. has all their core values and they have everything that makes Awesome Inc. great. They still do the fix you thing with the sunglasses.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. So I'll never forget
we call it the thing.
The thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never forget that.
Spoiler, we play mostly on our retreats or after a big event, something where our team has put a lot of effort into. We turn on Coldplay's song Fix You, and then Brian, our CEO, I don't really think he ever plans out a message, but he is just a very gifted motivational speaker, especially for his friends and family. But he walks up and he just says something, and you just feel every ounce of you say, yes, I believe. Oh my gosh, this is the best thing. So
sure.
We haven't had one in a while.
But
no, you're good. But some people don't know.
Yeah, right. So, I think about that when I think about Awesome Inc. I think about, everything that you guys stand for. And I can, in an intangible way, I know when I think about Awesome Inc., I have a feeling. Like, I think about Malone's Burgers on 5 Across nights. I think about Startup Weekend. I think about, hanging out here my freshman year of college and working on concepts with Matt. I think about things because I have a relationship with this place, and that's the way everybody is. So from first impression to, old friend, there are emotional ties and things that we think about that play a part. And so I'm not sure if I'm hitting the question right, but when it talks about interpreting culture, I think that dictates itself. I think being intentional with your culture from top down is important, but I think the most effective way is to allow your team, your employees, to drive the culture. Every business has a culture, whether they've identified it or not. There's something there. One thing that, like, so for Bolt, for example, like we, all of us who work there, we love wine. We love the history of wine, the story of wine, and like trying different wines. We also love learning. So every 2 weeks, every other week, we'll have an hour where we'll do website reviews and do deep dives on brands and messaging, and maybe we'll watch a TED Talk or something, and we'll have a discussion and we'll try a different wine. It's something really fun for us, and sometimes we'll go to a really nice restaurant, and that's something that's really valuable to us because it's a tangible, creative thing. But I think everybody has their own deal.
Yeah. So Chase, I mean, the gist of it, is about the relationships. And it's cool that you realize, hey, our team, whatever company that I'm speaking of now, our team can do our thing. But when we work with clients, or even how we convey what we do, how we message and maintain a relationship is where people can pick up on that.
Yeah, I think
culture.
so.
Yeah.
I think core values is one thing. I mean, there's a lot of corporate lingo and things that happen, but I think the core values are actually like what's important. What are the rules of the game? Like, we come into a situation, a new hire, start to understand what's the rules. Sometimes companies who are very old established will say, here's our policies on X, Y, and Z. Here's what we do. Oh, we'll do this. But other ones have more organic culture that this is the way we do things. This is what's important here. One of the core values for us is, that's my favorite, is be a Swiss Army knife. And, which means be versatile, push yourself, figure out a way to do something if you don't know how to do it. And that's really great. So, all of our people on our team are really resourceful and they're really great learners. And I think that's something that gets picked up.
That's good. Throws the pin down. Hey, last question, and then we'll wrap this up. Get this show on the road. Next series TBD in the future. Again, we work with Kentucky startup companies. You work with Kentucky small businesses and entrepreneurs. What is one tip that if someone heard today and they implemented in their company, next week they would be at least 1% better?
That's a good question.
And that's on the small side of things.
I mean, one practical one would be put a call to action button on your website. However your sales process works, like if you have an e-commerce site, you probably already have this. Instead of like, there's Shopify has this default deal where they have like the shopping cart in the top right corner, and you click into it and it's an empty cart. It's not helpful at all. Meet with the person who designed your website or do it yourself. Remove that and put a shop now button up there. If you're a professional services, and scheduling a call is how you get business, put schedule a call, drop get started, drop contact us, drop learn more. Really creepy. If, think you're courting somebody, like you're building a relationship with somebody. So if you're at a bar and I walk up to a woman that I'd like to take on a date and we're having a good conversation, at the end, I want to get her number, or I, give her my number. I said, learn more. That's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Right. Like, or
so stop doing this as a business.
It's like, can I have your number? Be direct. Can I have your number? Like, that's something that's like very direct. There's no like hiding that. So, people on your website for a reason. They're either a customer, they're either your competition, or they're you. There's somebody in your team and you're like reviewing your site. So put a call to action in the top right corner and scatter it throughout and make it direct, and you'll see more conversions.
That's good. We ended on a sales note, but I also think that can be correlated to anything marketing wise.
Yeah.
So,
and I think also I'd give a little giveaway to your listeners is they want to email me, I'd be happy to do a little website review for them.
Get started.
Get started. I think a lot of times it's good, you have to get another set of eyes on something and to be able to get some new perspective. Because a lot of times people they're in the weeds on their company. Marketing and messaging and brand might be important to them. It might not be. But regardless, it's always nice to have a fresh set of eyes. And so if they email me at hello@buildwithbolt.com and just say Awesome Inc. Podcast, would love a website review, me or somebody on my team will do a little video and give them some tips that can help them grow.
Chase, man, we've talked about it a lot. This was an absolute blast. Again, thanks for everyone who listened. Even if you listened for 30 seconds, would love some follow-up. Shoot either Awesome Inc. an email at podcast@awesomeinc.org or reach out to Chase with buildwithbolt.com. Nice.
Finally got it.
Finally got it. So appreciate y'all. Go make your messaging more clear, be direct, get a goal in mind, have an objective. And guess what? Kentucky's the best place to live and work. So we'll see you here next time. Chase, appreciate you, brother.
Yep. Thanks, Garrett.
Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Awesome Inc.'s podcast. And another quick thank you to Lee Rosevear and a few members from our community who provide the music that you hear in this show. Lastly, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz. Or even better, come on down to our space. Come be a part of our community and get plugged in, and let's start something awesome together. You guys rock. We'll see you next time.